Hello, friends, great friends of the world. C. L. It's a great honour to speak to all of you before this great friends. A friend, it's not the same word that everyone else interprets it for us. Friend is something much greater. It's not like in everyday life when we shake hands for the first time and you say hi there friend. For us this word refers to the deepest meaning of the word. For us it's a system, it's a way of life to be like this, to live like this. For us this word is everything. We live for the friend. Look to understand the meaning of this word every day and every night. This word that we use in any which way possible. We not only look to do it, we aspire for the whole world to understand it. How much is there in it? How deep is the meaning of this word? We place so much into this relationship, and I have the honour of speaking before these great friends who are now facing this campaign, this work every night without stopping, and it's truly to be before the greatest thing possible, to stand before the greatest thing possible. Friends, belong to Alex. Good morning, beloved friends, dear friends. We had an amazing congress. We were where we received an abundance of everything. New discernments are definitely felt between us. We have a more tangible grip of the direction that we are all having, and that's a global connection between T and into the spiritual dimensions. This can only take place if there is true love of friends and to embark on this wonderful journey together with are the greatest of their generation, and in order to hear the great words of truth that the sages have left for us, and finally bound with a creator, we the 10 of creation are included in an amazing unity of balance, together with our beautiful brothers of 2 for feeling their love among us, and we wish to share and multiply with all of you and be together in love of friends. It's written in the essence of love and unity is in the desire when each one pleases his friend. There is no disparity of desire among them, and all are incorporated in one desire, by which they are incorporated in the upper desire, which is the purpose of their unity. The essence of love and unity is in the desire when each one pleases his friend, and there is no disparity of desire among them, and all are incorporated in one desire, by which they are incorporated in the upper desire, which is the purpose of the unity. We must remember that the society was established on the basis of love of others, so each member would receive from the group the love of others and hat of himself, and seeing that his friend is straining to annul his and to love others would cause everyone to be integrated in their friends' intention to each. If the society is made of 10 members, for example, each will have 10 forces practicing self, annulment, hatred of self, and love of others. We must remember that the society was established on the basis of love of others, so each member would receive from their group the love of others and hatred of himself, and seeing that his friend is straining to annul himself and to love others would cause everyone to be integrated in their friends' intentions. Thus, if the society is made of 10 members, for example, then each will have 10 forces practicing self, annulment, hatred of self, and love of others. Good morning, dear friends. Friends, how to truly stress the importance of the love of friends beyond what words can express. Through the last Congress, we have realised on a totally new level that the only true home we have is in the centre of our 10. Without the love of friends, there would be no 10. Without the love of friends, there would be no home for our hearts. So thank you, dear friends. Time Rarish writes, one must disclose the love in his heart toward the friends, since by revealing it he evokes his friend's heart toward the friends, so they too would feel that each of them is practicing love of friends. The benefit from that is that in this manner one gains strength to practice love of friends more forcefully, since every person's force of love is integrated in each other's. One must disclose the love in his heart toward their friends, since by revealing it he evokes his friends' hearts toward the friends so they too would feel that each of them is practicing love of friends and the benefit from that is that in this manner one gains strength to practice love of friends more forcefully, since every person's force of love is integrated in each other is. Let me remind you the validity of love of friends in spite of everything at this time, for it is upon this that our right to exist depends, and upon this our near to come success is measured. And turn away from all the imaginary engagements and your hearts and thinking thoughts and devising proper tactics to truly connect your hearts as one. Let me remind you the validity of love of friends in spite of everything thing at this time, for it is upon this that our right to exist depends, and upon this our near to come success is measured. Hence turn away from all the imaginary engagements and set your hearts on thinking thoughts and devising proper tactics to truly connect your hearts as one. My friends that are in my heart, a few days ago we were in a convention where something very special happened. We all felt this greater maturity in the friends, advancement to the feeling that we're in a different state in the tens and the world. CLE, we did not become better or more intelligent or wise, but because we exerted together to rise above ourselves and to ask the Creator for the forces to do so, we began to feel the sparks of a new love between us. We start to feel the value of love of friends, which Bassam is talking about in this last excerpt, that we read a love which our right to exist is dependent upon. Now in our active workshop we're going to talk about how much has the value of love of friends increased in our eyes since the convention, and how can we have it be increased even more again. The active workshop is how much has the value of love of friends increased in our eyes since the convention, and how can it be increased even more. Love of friends, we talked about it several times since the Congress, how much in the then we felt closeness and love and immeasurable connection. Absolutely none. I'm still getting to know my 10. I don't know if I can notice a huge difference from before and after. I think that it feels closer and more loving just because of the I've been with you more a little longer, and we've been active and stuff. I don't know how to relate it to the Congress other than we all work together with that too. I don't know how to measure it. Yeah. Well, I got to say from where we had the conference that was around Passover time, and then we had that Passover celebration and all of that togetherness there was a big lapse between that and this Congress and treat. So I appreciated it very much, and I was blown away when they spoke about how many people were involved in preparing that retreat. I couldn't believe that it took that many people to pull it off. That blew me away. It took a lot of cooperation. I mean, we do have a lot of people to look up to and follow. After that was amazing. Yeah, I love doing it. Don't tell anybody, Shalom. Hello, we're studying the introduction to the study of the 10. We're continuing with item number 10. There you can find it in our study materials and the system, as well as in the writing of BAM. Again, the introduction to the study of the 10. Item 10 there writes about the verse, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. Let there be light for this world, and let there be light for the next world. This means that the works of creation were created in their full stature and form, as our sages said, meaning in their fullest glory and perfection. Accordingly, the light that was created on the first day emerged in all its perfection, which contains the life of this world too, in utter pleasantness and gentleness, as expressed in the words, let there be light. However, to prepare a place of choice and labour, he stood and concealed it for the righteous at the end of correction, as our sages said. Hence they said in their pure words, let there be light for this world. However, it did not remain so, but rather let there be light for the next world. In other words, they who practice are rewarded with it only at the end of correction, meaning the end of days after the end of the purification of their body in the path of Torah, and they're rewarded with that great light in this world. 2. As our sages said, you will see your world in your life. Anyone has questions? Let's go. What is this world? This world, I guess, is what we attain right now, and the next world is what we attain later. Maybe it speaks of tomorrow, or in 1,000 years from now, or in some other state. You haven't attained it yet. We can distinguish between in this world and the next. What is to engage in? It says he will engage in. He's got the engagement in T. What does he say? He will study. Or what is to engage? Because engaging in the Torah speaks about more than just study. It speaks about a person doing something in this world in certain times, special times that depend on him, that depend on the different times in the year, different seasons, etc. Many times we say that the Torah has the light, the force to correct the engagement in that. What does it come to say to us? That we need to engage in it, to deal with it, to engage in. It truly means to reveal the light in the Torah, which is the light that reforms, that corrects everything. Again, he writes, you will see your world in your life. What will a person see? I don't know. What is your world or his world? I don't know. If you reveal it, you will see it. Item 11. However, we find and see in the words of the sages of the Talmud that they have made the path of Torah easier for us than the sages of their Mishnah. This is because they said one should always practice the Torah and even Lishma, and from Lishma he will come to Lishma, since the light in it reforms him. They have provided us with a new means instead of the penance presented in the above mentioned Miss A. Thought the light in the Torah, it bears sufficient power to reform one and bring him to practice T. And they did not mention penance or modifications here, but only that engagement in Torah and MIT alone provides one with that light that reforms, so one may engage in in order to bring contentment to his Maker, and not at all for his own pleasure. And this is called DMA, meaning Basim provides a definition. What in intention, what approach we should engage the Torah, and how to engage in it in order to merit the next world, as we call that. Clear? Don't be shy. Thank you very much. Are what is actually special with the reforming light that he says that it's some kind of our break in our work. Why is it easier now than it was once? I guess there are difference in times. Not all the times are the same. It's clear that times are different, but he's saying that the work in the Torah is much easier. It's even faster, yet they made it easier for us. So what is this reforming light that lets us enter deeper? I guess it's more suitable to work with our vessels, with the vessels that are revealed against it, and that's why the light and the vessels, the corrupt vessels, have a tighter connection between them. Other person's feeling of this connection is very clear, that this is what he must correct. Is it correct to say that each learns with his vessels, actually adapting to each one is learning with his own vs. Each one sees how different he is from the Creator. This is where we can make mistakes, since even if we're coming closer to the Creator, it might seem to us as being further away from him, and have to work on it more than before, but it comes later and it teaches us. Last question, are you always tell us everyday connection. What is special that when we connect each in his vessels, when we connect in the 10 all the vessels of all the friends, what is unique? How does it allow us to draw the reforming light better, to come closer to the Creator? What's special about that connection of the vessels in each unique connection? What's special about the connection of the vessels is that we can connect the vessels, and we can connect the lights that used to be in different vessels previously, and now one great light has become of it, and a greater vessel in which we can work more quickly and discover what's missing to reveal the Creator. This common lead that we're building, is it a feeling of closeness, more love, more important? Yes, thank you. He writes that today we don't need penance, we don't need modifications. because the light that reforms us now available. So the question is, why does a person need to avoid pleasure? Isn't the intention in the study and the drawing of the light enough so it won't confuse him? In addition to the suffering that the torment disturbances, if we'll start to feel pleasures, he won't know where it's coming from. That is why we need to perform the restriction. But I don't receive anything to myself, and then anything that comes to me I check it, and only if it's not for myself I can receive it, and by that to correct myself. So actually the engagement is not just to sit and study, but it's the implementation of the work that we do between us. Yes, the restriction and all the concessions a person makes in his life in this generation to study, is it not the penance of this generation? Dependence or self-mortification is something a vessel feels internally, so it's hard to define clearly, but penances or modification, because it's going to look differently for different people. That's why we don't tend to define these names. We don't provide a clear place for them. So the sages of the Talmud made it easier for us than the sages of the Mishnah, and they invented a method in place of these penance. So if the penance is and internal things, and what did they make the Torah easier, or the path easier for us? They give us a few means where if we use them we don't need to reach mortification. They talked about like external self mortifications, like laying on the ground or eating a little or drinking a little. Maybe it wasn't that difficult for them. Okay, in our generation we don't have such penance, but we have other conditions, and how do we work with them? Because the person still needs to make concessions in order to study. We mostly do it with our time and place, where we cancel our desire to for pleasure during good time, where we learn during the night, and we come to states that are more connected to the study. I'm saying that if for the previous generations it wasn't really penance, it wasn't harsh conditions, what's the break that we get in our generation? How did they make it easier for us? Everything's much clearer thanks to our book, and thanks to our books that we can advance without mortification for them. Modifications were intentional. It will place themselves in lives that are filled with mortifications, so they would come to appreciate all the sparks of light that they can receive thanks to that. Okay, and before they invented this new thing, which is the light in the Torah, what was there before? Was there no light before? Did they not have that? No, was there from the beginning. Seemingly, what is special about the work with the light, that I don't want the light is good, rather I want to connect to it according to the demand of Torah, where I can receive the light only in the condition that I can sanctify my vessels. Thank you. Many times we heard from Ra, and also it was written here in item 155 that there's a great virtue to those who study the etc. And we talk about this remedy, this virtue, that it's a force that is beyond the egoistic desire, and it's one of the reasons why the reforming light changes a person without him understanding how it happens, that it impacts the inner point in him, his point in the heart. That is kind of like many times we say that that's the very heart of our method, that's the heart of the method of the wisdom of. So if it's only in our generation, then what was the correction in the previous generations? Did they not have the reforming light? How was the reforming light, and all these corrections existed, but on different levels. For us the darkness is, it's truly darkness, it's much more than it was for them, and the confusion and the feeling of remoteness, and it was all there, just much easier on top of much lighter coarseness, meaning that the change of coarseness compels us to work differently. Yes, and it's not the same work of penance, but in the things that were before anymore. Yes, but prior to that people would do self-modifications, and as a result of that they would receive their forming light. Or what would exactly happen? It looks like, yes, they would agree with it and take upon themselves greater mortifications, clear forms of mortification, and they would agree with it because they understood that they needed in order to overcome their evil inclination, and then from a certain point where the coarseness went and grew. Then the cyst performed some general correction from that. From now on all the souls, yes, that's what's written. From a certain point in the revelation of the coarseness the light couldn't work with it, and it's designated more for work in degrees and in the manner of the reforming light. It's clear that it exists in the said with theme commentary, that it exists in the study of the 10 with the commentary. Often when we engage in the study, it's clear that either have to be included. There would connected there, meaning for them to be like the order of degrees doesn't change. We always need BAM as one that connects, or Rash is a connector, yes, and the are who connects us to Rash, and maybe I'm not. That order must be kept always, yes. Theoretically, if we would read the Zohar without theme commentary, we wouldn't have it, wouldn't impact us. We don't have this explanation there. Correct more questions in the next generation. Will the method be easier than our generation? I don't think so. This condition of working on the ladder against the light that can influence you and aim you, that condition is not changing, meaning there was a lightning of it at a certain stage, and that's it. That's the method to the end of correction. I also don't think there was a relief. It was simply a different time, different conditions. They did not use the light of Torah in order to raise themselves. They studied and advanced as much as possible. We are already under the influence of the reforming life, so in the next generations, as humanity will and more people will join the method, they will go through the same order that we're going through at this moment. Yes, thank you. The system of how does a person identify it? He says there's a certain ladder of degrees between himself and the Creator, and he doesn't have the power to climb this ladder, and he looks for ways to find it, and he comes to reveal this force that will help him in equivalence of form of the Creator. The system opens before a person that the Creator invited to the group, or is it open? Everyone? No, it's not open to every person. It's a personal thing. Is that the system that was installed for the last generations, or was it from the very beginning of creation? It was installed from the beginning of creation, but mostly for the last generations, or is it? Yes, it's revealed each time in such a way that it will be suitable for that generation. Thank you more. I heard yesterday that pleasures for myself I need to restrict. Nevertheless, so what's the difference between that and self-mortifications? I have to restrict myself anyway, isn't that penance? No, it's not the mortification. When you restrict pleasure, then what is it? Modification are things that make you suffer. It's not that you lack, and you replace one candy with another. Every pleasure that I restrict is suffering. No, it's not like that. Because look how many candy replacements, sugarless replacements for candy, were produced to give you that feeling of that taste of sugar. Right, you can walk into all the stores and see our bread that's made without certain ingredients, inflammatory ingredients. We understand it and we go for it. I wanted to ask, from one generation to the next, what changes from one generation to the next? What changes is the will to receive inside this generation, and accordingly the influence on it from the Creator. So the change of the desire to receive is what defines the method of correction for that generation. The changing of the world reset is what determines it. Yes, so the fact that in the system, the fact that there was a time of self-mortifications, I grasp it. It's because the desired received needed that to reach. It was always in order to reach a connection with the Creator that was enough for it. So now, in order to reach a connection, he needs the reforming light, yes. And that change, is it a change that took place in the general desire to receive, or is it a correction that the Kabbalists did? And that's why typically those are changes made by Kabbalists. So can we perform another correction in order to relieve the next generations? Are we already in the end? Yes, you can ease the work on the future generations. They have more work to Do and what exactly does it happen? Where we make it easier for the next generation so it'll be easier for them by making it easier on the coming generations. We cancel the barriers, we bring the vessels closer to the light. But the work is, does it become easier, or will it still be the same exertion that a person will have to give forth? Seemingly it's relatively the same because we too in our generation, there's also exertion that we're putting forth. It doesn't become of easy, true, but nevertheless according to the deterioration of the nations, and there's greater difficulty in combining the vessels and relating them to greater and greater lights each time. So what becomes easier from generation to generation? If the Kabbalists make a correction, and what does that generation have it easier? Past generations had to make corrections on simpler coarseness. For us it happens with a more complex coarseness and have to enter a certain form of study, and even before their study there's some form of PR preschool. So that's a difference between the generations. So what becomes easier for their generation? I wouldn't say it became easier each generation, I would say it was easier. Each generation has disturbances that are suitable for that generation. Nevertheless, it is a little different. Last question. So it turns out that the level of exertion still needs to be, yes, it's just adapted to the generation and what it needs at that point. Yes. More thank you. Do we need preparation in order to receive the reforming light? Yes. Where does the light meet the desire? Or, meaning, can the reforming light just work just like that? No, it can't just work, and the desire can't also just work, just simply work. They operate in a system that binds them, ties them together, heaven and earth, seemingly that connects. So what's the adapter? The adapter is a light from above. The light from above will find the suitable vessel from below, desire from below, and may not want to receive the light, but there is a web of connection between them called light. Okay, thank you. On one hand, we see that more people need to come and go through this correction also. Quantitatively, on the other hand, we see that those of us who have come here in the nines, we immediately entered the study. Every day it was clear that we have to study every day and at night. Do you not see in this relief in the method of correction? Because we see that people simply don't come in such hours and such a way. Can that form of study change not the states themselves that we have to go through, but the form? Because the fact, according to the facts, it's what happens in truth. I don't see much change. People would come from all places. They would come to one place where there was a wise man sitting, and he would teach them the wisdom of Kabbalah. That's it. Each generation and his teachers, and we are there. Same, it's clearer with us, but factful. Whoever came in 10-15 years, it's just people simply don't enter this study. Very few do. All those who are sitting here, already sitting here, I don't know, 15-20 years. The new ones that come, it's really, I don't even think, I can't even point what percentage. That's what I'm saying. What will be next? And the situation is not improving to such a form. People don't come there, not attracted to it. Maybe something will happen in a year from now, and everyone will want to sit down. But I don't know. So you don't see any change? I don't. I know this is what I have to do. No, yes, I'm asking about what will be. Oh, we will see what will be, and no, I have nothing to see. Whatever it will be, I'll have to maintain the same path, meaning the path will not change, and it doesn't matter how much the how many people the teacher, the greater sense the relationship between the will to receive and the reforming light. In order for them to be suitable for one another, will have to be the same action. So they will have to come to a sage, to a wise teacher, and sit next to him, or no, maybe not a one front of one, be 1,000 before one, but yes, in a way, meaning the fact that people vote with their feet and don't come. That doesn't interest us. We need to continue in our way. We continue with our own way. We have nothing else to do. I think we need to discover more and more helpful instruments that will assist a person in per the perception of the wisdom of Kabbalah and grasping it, and more opportunities for those who enter it, but inner in a way, in a sense they discovered everything the sages. I don't see anything new. I don't think there can be some instrument from above that will give each and every person clear knowledge, clear ideas without any effort, without any sort of special connections. No, it cannot be. Even you see, like you studied test with Rabash, they see that we have come and we're not capable. You're not even giving us to study because you see, and you're also saying that we're not capable to study more than half an hour, and once in your generation they would sit and study Zohar and Des. Yeah, that's why I'm saying there are nevertheless some changes, and also you studied more hours and we're studying less hours. What can you do? And that won't change. I don't think it's gonna change for in the direction of more study will change in the direction of people. What does that mean? It will be easier for them, and what will be easier, we will prepare for them all these supporting instrument assisting methods that will accompany them as they go through the study, and everywhere that if I have a question I can immediately find an answer for it. There will be many such auxiliary means of support, but still the method like it's written in item 155, where person sits, doesn't understand, but from wanting to really understand, and he evokes the light, and that will awaken him. Yes, it could be that maybe he won't sit 5 hours a day, but he'll sit an hour, but the method will still be the same method. That's what I'm asking about, the relief in that. I'm asking no, there will be no relief in that. A person will need to discover his deficiency for correction and what he truly wants to receive as correction, and this will have to be clear to him. Can we think about the wisdoms or technology of this world? We see there's a small number of people that develop technology, say they know how to build a microwave and improve it, and very millions use it in the wisdom. We also do have these two circles that say we're the small circle that advances the wisdom and learns it, but there will be many people that will use the wisdom. Yes, so what is it called to use the wisdom? To use the wisdom means to attain something that they want with the help of this wisdom. This is what the wisdom is designed for. The billions. Will there be billions that use it like most of humanity? Or what will they need to know in order to use this wisdom? What would be enough? They need to know how to attain the Creator, and the means that they will need it's like love of friends. What? Ah yes, they will read about what they need in order to reveal the Creator. I'm asking because according to what's written here there's an explanation, but between what's the difference between the wisdom of Kabbalah and other wisdoms, where over there you study with your intellect, so to open up the wisdom to the masses. What all the masses have to know, the masses will have to know that they need to be together in groups, perhaps great big groups, in order to organize their desire, and inside this desire they'll be able to reveal the Creator. What will the practical aspects of it be like for them to do the inner work and etc. to awaken the reforming light from an effort to connect or something else? Yeah, out of this general effort. Yes, in item 11 we read that they corrected so that in place of penance we can do it by the light. I wanted to understand that these penances, it's not that a person doesn't touch lure, but rather it's more about the scrutiny of their intention. It says students will come who will begin to demand more out of the Torah, the light in the Torah. They will prepare for us the path of Torah more than easier than the sages of Mis. This is because they said one should always practice the Torah even from will come to sense the reforms. Him meaning there is a stage in the develop of those who study were called. How did they call them? Instead of study they already were looking for their light, and that's the difference from between them. They seemingly said, that's how I understand it from what's written, that you can learn Leshma for the time being until you reach Leshma. Yes, that's how it's our person should always engage, and I understand that if a person is in Leshma he still associates his self-pleasure in penance. Did they try to break that? Is that what they tried to do? Before, no, they did not have such a desire, yet where they could engage or practice the Torah. Differently so this lish, it has the ability to move a person from a state in which he does share the self-pleasure in this, or to riding himself of it. So what helps a person when he is sharing his self-pleasure in this? How does he not fall and remain in pleasure? And this lishma takes him out of it. No, you can hear me. Now he studies tea and he wants to reach an understanding of where he is. That brings him to the feeling of deficiency, when then he has a deficiency in a reality that shines on him with its deficiency, and out of that it aims a person to look for exactly what he wants, the vessels. So they bring him to the attainment of the Creator, the feeling of the Creator. Thank you. No, my asking from PT 33, what's the indication that a student draws the reforming light, that it reveals to him new desires in him? In the student, new desires are revealed, and if he goes to fill them, then he'll succeed. What kind of discernments a tea can make when it is drawing the reforming light? They can't do that now. Only well if they already have an engagement with the lights and the vessels that stand one against the other. Then they can start locating the vessels against the lights. Woman 53, what does it mean to restrict the desire? How to ensure that I manage to do it? The restriction of the desire is if I have a desire, but it is still not suitable for the revelation of the light, then he performs a concealment of the light, and that's a help against him. And then I need to change the desire in order to reach instead of darkness to light. What's the difference, or what's special about the reforming light compared to all the other lights? The reforming light is that light that knocks in my vessel, that it's open or closed and demands for me to open it. That's why this opening itself is called the opening, which the orifice which is opened to those who come to repent. Can that's it? Yes. No, well, the heavier the soul is, its correction is harder but more beneficial. What's beneficial? Beneficial for the general correction. Yes, thank you. Are we in the midst of the wars of the Messiah that will bring peace? I didn't read it yet. Soon. I didn't read it. Okay. You, the medium between me and the upper one, will it always remain like this? I don't know, thank you. Yes, what is the difference between and any other form of reception in this world? In both there's some reception for myself, but in Lishmer has the potential to draw their light. So other than the self-reception, what else is there in Lishmer that allows for the reforming light? That's something that we will talk about. We just started to talk about how to adapt the vessels, the corrupted vessels, to the light that will come down to them. So we will continue, and we will understand from that. Yes, more. Yes, in the state where he still includes his own pleasure, that's what develops the deficiency in him. It changes according to the corruption he detects. How does it work? You have to complete a certain measure in Lishmar, or each desire can develop. There's this and there's that. It depends on the soul itself. Can you also have one desire that makes its correction from Rish all the way to the end? No, usually not. Okay. Yes, looks like in the past you said that each person in the world will have to come to tea and feel himself in the tea, and have to help them be organized in this way. They don't necessarily have to study like that, like USS, so intensely every day, but we have to make arrangements for every person to reach to enter a 10 and feel himself in the 10. Any person around the world, if you receive such a command, if you receive such a command from above, then we will do it that way, and if not, then no. What does it mean? Extraction from above, the desire of the Creator. If such a feeling will be revealed in us like the desire of the Creator, then we will have to do that. These expressions will be understood more. Yes, maybe to clarify the matter of modifications and the fact that we don't need them. Today, mortification is something corporeal, right? Someone sleeping on a hard bed and such, but here we're talking about Lishmar as a spiritual state. Is that the difference between them? No, there are many different between those repent, those mortifications, and others, and it's still ahead of us a development of desire in a certain state in order to increase desire for spirituality. There were mortification, and with the development of the generation the course was such that it was not enough to create a deficiency for spirituality. There was a greater course that had to be filled a certain way. We will sort it and see how it's attributed, how is associated with the lack of the upper light will be required to build a spiritual vessel that brings the light that reforms to everyone together. Yes, and that's by connection. Yes, I understood that the essence of the meth does not change, it will always be this way, but I'm asking about the next generation. You said you will create various AIDs that will help them, explain to them, accompany them. Yes, but what kind of aid do you see? For example, how to open test, how to open the Z, how to explain everything and what it belongs to. More meaning what parts from T and Z will be immediately showing you where you can find. These are things that actually a person who learns this for several years doesn't really need it, but for beginners we need to build a few more stages, a few more degrees. So we're talking about explanations, introductions for new people studying the wisdom. Yes, also I thought aids, or I don't know, technological tools, inventions that will help the student, make it easier. Also okay, that too. I'm trying to understand how do we organize things moving forward, because the way I grasp the method from you is you get an order and you simply do it. If not, then there's no point in planning ahead. How will the next generation look 10 years from now? Yes, T. No tens, we work with what's revealed. Yes. So how do you plan ahead? Big moves in dissemination or no? We work from today to tomorrow, from today to tomorrow. That's the safest. Nevertheless, you have to try to walk around with your tail and around, the kind of without any benefit. Clear, but I want to understand. There's no room for planning certain strategies and no what nonsense in the factory of dissemination. Is there room for making plans ahead, how to bring in new audiences, how to disseminate correctly? Even long term is impossible. What's the longest term you can plan for? 10, 20 years? No, 20 years. So there's room for making plans for 20 years ahead. Well, let's say that. Yes, thank you. Okay. Yes, I want to ask about the experience. Can we improve the experience of the study experience, meaning a person to be moved today? Let's say the films, movies. A person watches a movie and it can be moved there. There's music there. There's dramatic situations. Should we develop things in this direction or no? There's a book. There's a study. Should we develop such things that can move student to tears or not? It's possible and people are inspired by it. How much it helps? High. No, well, just that's what I'm asking about. The essence is this excitement. Completely animalistic, beastly, it seems to me that yes, so that's to be a different internal form of excitement. Yes, maybe it could be good for beginners. That's correct. Kenan, yes. You said that a Kabbalist receives an order and then he acts as your student. I should also look for this order within me or in a 10. Yes, how do we do it? Simply know that there's always a connection between the upper one and the lower one, and you want to discover that connection. And then you will see that in every state he's talking about where precisely that connecting point between the upper one and the lower one is. And if I don't feel these orders, what's the best thing to do? Then you expect to feel it, to come closer to it in the 10, or a person by himself in the 10. In the 10, I want to ask a question in principle. When I came to study with Rabash sat him down with H and he them preface, and when we brought students to Rav 27 years ago, RAV gave them preface. That was the first thing they studied. No articles or anything, they studied preface. Part of the people here remember that today students learn very little preface, no matter the framework of study. Very little, almost practically, yes, nothing compared to what was there in the past. And now when they asked about This educational aids, he said, create those AIDs that will help them study SOAR and test if we take SOAR and test they study that even less so if I stand R. Correctly, he sees us as being a bridge for bringing people, students, to these authentic sources of SOAR and tests at some point, maybe not right away, but at some point it has to happen. Yes, do I understand correctly? Yes, I want to ask about the next generation. You mentioned a few lessons ago. You said you hope students from the next generation will be wiser, more flexible. We know how to connect between them, find common points of connection. I want to ask, what kind of flexibility do we lack? We're lacking that flexibility that does not exist in the connection between us and the Creator. How to be more flexible in our work of connection as each of us receives from all the friends, from each of the friends like they are, and the whole change each will demand from himself in order to adapt ourselves to connection between us. So we will always demand from ourselves to be suitable to the connection. Okay. Yes, I want to ask about those educational study AIDs that you mentioned. From what I heard from you, these are tools that help a person come closer to the study of test. Said, that's what I heard. At least, in what way will it help? What will these instruments, these aids, do that will bring a person closer to the study? They will be close to the study. Why not? Some from that comes that needs to come to us, me world, and the lower world in the mid, that we can prepare these aids for the next generation. What are these study AIDs that you can prepare for them? What are these aids you can prepare for them? It's those AIDs that connect this a higher degree from us to a low degree from us. These vessels replace the work of the reforming light. Or will a person have to still exert to receive the reforming light? Those vessels need to reveal in, be revealed in us, and by them we are meaning to connecting to what's above us and below us. I'm trying to understand from you, what exactly can we prepare to the for the next generation, and what can we bring the message closer to the next generation? We're not making any concessions, and the person will have to exert and draw the reforming light. How, in what way is this nearing going to be felt as we depict to ourselves? In what degree and what form? That degree that we're coming to connect in is. That's a constant work, yes, and after us the next generation. Well, what are we preparing for them so that they will be able to do their same? Yes, so the method doesn't change, the method itself. No, so from the moment you enter into the general system, their forming light, moment it enter the system, there's no more I, no relief, no more, no other ways to bring a person into contact with the Creator. There are no principles. I always use the vessels that connect me with the degree above me, with that same degree that is below me clear. So everything we do in our generation and the next, it has to give us the tools to draw the reforming light. That's where we should lead them to. Yes, I don't know, you may don't, maybe you don't know, but there's like this device today where we entered, we put, let's say, 100,000 posts of yours that you wrote throughout the last 20 years. You remember you had a blog once, all the answers that you once answered, so that machine knows those answers. And if I not say what they have, atonement is according to the wisdom. I just ask a question, and with a second it gives me an answer. Yes, meaning instead of a mechanical thing, it just gives me the answers. Yes. Yes, it knows your answers, and it gives me the answer in a second if I don't remember what is urge of our Kabbalistic I used to. I had to search for hours, and I would get all kinds of sources. My question, if I don't lose anything, because I had to invest all this exertion in the past. No, in exertion we don't have anything to long for here. So if I can find out in a second, yeah, if I can continue on this aids as we study, preface, or test, the walls are full of drawings you used to make over the years when you explained it, but at some point, I think 5 years ago, you stopped doing it. Well, so the question is how correct it is, especially in studying test their system, to use such aids. I don't know, I felt it at a certain point in time of the study that there was a need for it. So I did. It and after. That mention aids especially the part of the wisdom called the wisdom of the study of the upper worlds. Is that correct to use such aids, such visual aids? Well, I can say yes or no, talking about the approach to you. There's also a concern about materializing things, and it's not the wise who learns all that. I don't think that's it's a depiction, it's a illustrated an illustration of it, but that illustration is also it. Doesn't open much for you, so because you have to make many discernments in this, yeah, but I think those who learned in this way, there's an inner depiction. When you say there's a depiction of this line that comes down, I'm asking if it's something, if it's correct, because it's hard, very hard to study without it, I think. And as far as using technology, Mushy mentioned AI for search purposes. These are all talked about, like searching for your blog, this artificial intelligence that learns your answers and can give you answers, meaning when it answers a question, it doesn't take bring quotes from you, it generates a new answer based on what you said. So this approach of using technology, I have no idea, as you're asking. As you can see, I'm just asking about the approach. Is it beneficial for making it accessible? Eventually, they'll find a use in that as well. All right, wonderful. So we have come out of the study already to kinds of directions. All right, thank you, dear. In our preschool, here with my friends Andrew, I'm your tyrant. Gary, how could we put ourselves under the reforming light correctly in Lishma? We're clearly in Lishma. Before start studying, that's we need to learn the same tool, the same be what they do in order to receive that change and be closer to the life. That's how we change and bring ourselves into contact with the light. You said that I don't yearn for the lightest pleasure. That's good, rather I want to receive it in order to illuminate my vessels. So what does it mean to light my vessels? For the light to illuminate my and give them additional desire. For what does it mean not to yearn? For the light is good, but to yearn for it is the quality of a still receive energy from the light. It's not the same like enjoying the light. There's a difference. Turkey, how can a person discover or is becoming aware of his deficiency? What will awaken him? What will push him to reveal his deficiency, on which he can later draw the reforming light again? How can a person reveal or discover his correct deficiency? To discover the correct deficiency, a person needs to know himself and his upper one, and to do this calculation between himself and the upper one, and then he will discover the correct efficiency. My question has to do with the process of the descent of the lights and their generations, and changing the method of study accordingly. At the time where the souls were finer, more pure, it was enough to for some, mind games and science and all that. Now there's a feeling that what the one soul included in itself is not divided even more souls, and only through the connection of people who study that can be realized. It's not for nothing that the humanity went through a process where science evolved since the time of the and bam, and they try to explain it more and more scientifically. So seemingly we have to connect our consciousness, our awareness, our mind, and so on. How do you see the process, this process in support of dissemination efforts? I don't know. It's not even worth to talk to me about such a thing. I don't know. I'm not, and I have no excelling in dissemination. Really, I don't know. There's a group of people who is trying to surround wrap the Kabbalistic message using science. Well, okay, there's a such a thing. Also, I guess it doesn't cause too much. No, there's nothing to fear. You won't corrupt anything or ruin anything. Okay, thank you, good luck all. Right, yes. Children can influence the parents' deficiency. He makes a little and they get going. Can the students influence the teacher's deficiency in what his deficiency in? What the growing the deficiency, the liveliness of the deficiency? No, otherwise they wouldn't be students, and he wouldn't be there. Teacher, okay, where are we? 11, 12. Please, 12. Yet it seems we must question their words. After all, we found a few students who practicing to did not help them to come to Lishma through the light. In it indeed. Practicing. Andish means that one believes in the Creator in the Torah, and in reward and punishment, and he engages in the Torah, because the Creator commanded the engagement, but associates his own pleasure with bringing contentment to his Maker. If after all one's trouble in the practice of Torah Mitivi, he will learn that no pleasure or personal benefit came to him through this great exertion and strain. He will regret having made all his efforts. This is because from the very beginning he has misled himself, thinking that he too would enjoy his exertion, and this is called Lishma. Nonetheless, our essay is permitted the beginning of the practice in Torah and MIT also. In essence, from Lishma, not for her sake. One comes to Lishma for her sake. However, there is no doubt that if this student has not been rewarded with faith in the Creator and his law, but still has doubts, it is not about him that our sages said from Lishma he will come to Lishma. It is not about him that they said that by engaging in it the light in it reform. This is because the light in the Torah shines only to those with faith. Moreover, the measure of that light is as the measure of the force of one's faith, yet to those without faith it is the opposite, as it is written, to the left, leaning in it a portion of death, for they receive darkness from the Torah, and their eyes darken. No. What it turns out that this is the hardest item to understand. We learned about the light that reforms, that helps a person advance the spiritual attainment, and he says without faith, if you weren't rewarded with faith yet, so it's not even written about you that the light works on you. So what is this faith in the Creator? That without it we can't even, oh yes, faith above reason or studying, let's say the source we want to aim to, what that the light that reforms will cleanse us towards faith, that we don't even have that yet. Yes, I don't understand what you asked. He writes that without faith, if a person wasn't rewarded with faith yet, so it's not even written about him that the light that reforms advances him from a yes. That's what we read. Yes, so I want to ask about us. We're studying the source. May let's say we weren't rewarded with faith yet. Does the light work on us? Or am I confused? It operates on us, but to what extent? That's the question I'll ask. Simply, the main thing is our intention. It should be to be rewarded with the Creator, which is the previous state. Yes. Yeah, okay. Next. 13 sages have already presented a nice allegory about this matter regarding the verse, woe unto you who desire the day of the Lord. Why do you need the day of the Lord? It is darkness and not light. There's an allegory about a rooster and a bee that were awaiting the light. The rooster said to the bat, I await the light, for the light is mine. But you, why do you need the light? Clearly those students who are not owed with coming from a due to their lack of faith, and therefore did not receive any light from the Torah, will therefore walk in darkness and shall die without wisdom. But those who were imparted complete faith are guaranteed in the words of our sages that because they engage in the Torah, even the light in it reforms them. They will be imparted the tea which brings a happy and good life in this world and in the next world, even without prior affliction and sorrow. Sorrowful life, it is said about them that the verse says, then you shall delight in the Lord, and I will make you ride on the high places of the earth. Yes, no. Questions. What all we do have. Yes, there's something I don't understand. And in between Lishmer and Lishmer person that doesn't expect pleasure can work. I heard you say that many times. According to what I understand, he who works in Lishma causes pain in himself and darkness because he doesn't attain light. It says that he came with faith, but it's not really the faith that we actually want. When he works, he's rewarded for all the pleasantness that only the upper world can give. So it's like there can't be a state that he won't want pleasure. I don't understand that there can be a state that he'll want to work former, because that's where the biggest pleasure is. He's an egoist. He wants the biggest pleasure he can. So how to avoid slandering by not being rewarded with anything I don't know, but you can. Imagine there a situation I'm trying to, we're going through it a lot of times. Together everyone in the different states in their vessels, and it's so how in those states when he sees the darkness he doesn't see salvation, how he goes to Lishmar where the biggest pleasure is. How does he sustain that place? How do you imagine yourself going through this darkness? I don't know what to answer you. What did you learn from the reading? I think patience is very important, that you have to be adhered no matter what happens, to agree everything possible, and that it won't really be for you that what goes through you. You have to agree that you won't feel anything, but sometimes that slandering comes on its own. You don't control it. You feel you can't be independent yet. No, so what are you asking me? How to hold on to the states that are revealed to a person, and sometimes we see people who leave, you see reality. How can we reach that point together and remain in it and not let it go, that we really adhere to it even if we weren't rewarded completely, only by wanting to adhere to the path and to the people who walk in it? Because I heard conversations on how to disseminate and bring more people, but in the end it's not even on the outside, it's something between us here and some deep inner work, yes, and we're searching for more activities on the outside, so it's never really clear. No, the solutions are all inside for a more and more inner work. Yes, is being rewarded with complete faith. Does it depend on a person, or does it come from above? I didn't understand. He writes that being rewarded with faith as a condition to for the reform in light, so is being rewarded with it. Does it depend on the work of man, or does it come from above? Yet we have to believe that this is so. No. Well, there's the matter of fish that I think we have to understand. Again, it'll save a lot of scrutiny. Is when a person is already, he is a creator, but he discovers that he's not working for him. It's a very high degree, so too Samer, it's already on such a level that a person can expect faith that he'll be able to work for the creator. Is that right? Yes. No, so for defining Lishmar, so all the work is different. We didn't even reach that. Yet there's a creator, but we're already discovering that we're not really working for him. Before that a person works for himself, he doesn't even know what's the yet. So you're right. So how do we really advance that? We'll understand or feel that there's a creator and that we can't work for him, or we're not successful, or we don't know we're not successful, we don't know, we can't, we don't want to, and how in the connection between us can we take this Lishmar and advance with it onward. Well, what's the difference? How can we rise from this with this Lishmar? Not for a sake to, for her sake. They are connection will be for the sake of the creator. So what is the problem? See, what is the problem? That he's between us, that if he'll be between us, we'll be able to do actions. So he is between you, and that's Lishmar. The creator is between you. How can you receive from him the strength that will help you, the force that happy to be in Mer, and for her sake prayer too? Yes. Okay. What he writes in 11, that he is so forced to reform him. But then he says that it's sufficient. What does it mean that it is sufficient or not? A person, I don't know, studies 10 years, 20 years, what he can get from his learning. He has to check the way he studies, his attitude towards the study. How can he check that the way that he's engaging in that it's sufficient? Forces, like he writes in 11, to reform him. If he does what is written, let's say in item 12, right, so he will come to a state where he is above the intention to receive. In 12 he gives the condition that he believes in 3 things: in the creator, and in the tone reward and punishment. Yes, what are those parts of faith? There are parts in a person's faith toward the creator. Why is it not enough to believe in the creator? Why does he also have to believe in reward and punishment? What does that add? It's about the result from the work. So if a person checks himself, like he said, that those who weren't rewarded to reach, he sees he didn't do it yet, so that's Because they are lacking faith, so how can he check his faith? He sees that in his faith he doesn't have any strength, and what can he do when he discovers that? So he needs to search from where to receive the power of faith. So when he gives that condition to the extent of that light, it's the force of faith. Yes, so a person's in a group, he's in a 10, he has framework, and so on. So how can he bestow and change something about the force of his faith? Well, how do you understand it? I don't know. When you tell Mushu that, let's say it's not for the benefit of the study, that it will be easier for the public, so I don't know how to relate to it if I feel this lack of forces, and I hear these words, so I don't know how to relate to this. And also when you say that the light works, so how much does it work? Maybe a person can study, but he doesn't receive that force of the light that reforms, that actually bestows on the same way that it's enough for him, sufficient to come to I hear you. So what is the sole solution? What should be the attitude towards it? What to do? The solution is simple. If you continue to work on the power of their faith, you will come to a complete vessel. That's a personal answer, 'cause all the work is from me dependent on the 10, dependent on the group. The form of study also depends. For instance, do we study test for an hour or not, or only questions and answers? That also affects. So should I think about that, or should I accept that everything's perfect, that only my attitude needs to be correct? Did we read 13? We read it was 13, that those who weren't rewarded from come to because they were lacking faith, so they didn't get any of the light of the Torah, and they walk in the darkness without wisdom, and that's a scary state. Supposedly that if I don't change something, that'll be my result, so I have to change something. So you need to receive on the same degree. Where you didn't receive, you will receive all of it, and then you will not have the fear here. So maybe I have to ask it this way: how do the laws of society F the drawing of the light during the studies? There is a connection between one and the other. Home method is we read 13, yes, but not 14. Okay, so read it. 14. 13 sages have already presented an nice allegory about this matter. Regarding the verse, woe unto you who desire the day of the Lord. Why do you need the day of the Lord? It is darkness and not light. There is an allegory about the rooster and the bat were awaiting the light. The rooster said to the bat, I await the light, for the light is mine. But you, why do you need the light? Clearly those students who were not endowed with coming from due to their lack of faith, and therefore did not receive any light from the Torah, will therefore walk in darkness and shall die without wisdom. But those who were imparted complete faith are guaranteed in the words of our sages that because they engage in the Torah, even the light in it reforms them. They will be imparted the to which brings a happy and good life in this world and in the next world, even without the prior affliction and sorrowful life. It is said about them that the verse says, then shall you delight in the Lord, and I will make you ride upon the high places of the earth. At 14. Concerning such a matter as the above, I once interpreted the saying of the sages, he whose to is his trade, the measure of his faith is apparent to his practice of the toe, because the letters of the word his trade are the same in Hebrew as the letters of the word aman, his faith. It is like a person who trusts a friend and lends him money. He may trust him with £1, but if he asks him for £2, he will refuse to lend him. He might also trust him with £100, but not more. Also, he might trust him enough to lend him half his possessions, but not all of his possessions. Finally, he trusts them with all his possessions without a hint of fear. This last faith is considered complete faith, and the previous forms are considered incomplete faith. Rather, it is partial faith, whether more or less. Similarly, one allots himself only an hour a day to practice Torah and work out of the measure of his faith in the Creator. Another allots 2 hours according to the measure of his faith in the Creator. The third does not neglect even a single moment of his free time. without engaging in tour and work. Thus only the faith of the last one is complete, since he trusts the Creator with all his possessions. The previous ones, however, their faith is still incomplete. Chiot questions no. Well, a person has to approach studies with a willingness for complete faith. Otherwise the Creator won't relate to him, or he relates them according to the size of his faith. Why does he come to study? That the Creator will fix them, correct them. What to correct? Him, his oppositeness of form, that he's different from the Creator and can be bestow to him. He must be rewarded with faith, yes, bestow best. So this is why he comes to study. He has to constantly see it in front of him. He has a deficiency to obtain faith. And what does he need to believe in? He needs to believe that the Creator provides him with everything. So inside him he needs complete faith that the Creator will correct them, yes, and he has to approach every action with this faith, yes. Otherwise the Creator won't correct them. Probably not. Okay. What thank you, dear love, it says in 12 that no doubt if he wasn't rewarded for with faith in the Creator and his but he has doubt. So the sages said about him from will reach. So what is it to be rewarded with faith in his toe? So it's not a person's exertion, it is giving labour in order to be rewarded with faith in the Creator. So faith in the Creator is already Lishmer. Afterwards we'll see. Thank you. Can. Yes, good morning. It's written that complete faith is by believing your friend on all of your possessions, that the friend is the Creator. What possessions do we have in our hands? That we have to believe the Creator about what possession? Everything we have in the end, our whole life, our whole future, we give to the Creator. Everything. How do I do that? How do I give it to him? Everything I have, it all depends only on your desire, on your intention. And how can I strengthen the friends in that they take everything they have and connect it into one and pass it to the Creator? We need to learn together with the friends, so that all of us will do such actions, and then altogether we will perform that operation that he tells us about here in item 13. Thank you. Okay, well, quickly we're studying the introduction to test. Yes, to relate to the text. Either I need to think how to relate to test how to relate to the book, or should I also relate to all the questions that awaken to the questions to the book and to what we're talking about? So I have to listen to the text and everything that's awakening in me I have to yes, yeah. He writes that in the third faith, the complete faith, that he doesn't relinquish one moment of his free time without engaging in tour and the work. So there's a difference between Torah and the work. What is the difference? Oh yeah, true, you can say that it's when he studies, and the work is when he takes from the Torah, learning about himself what he needs to do with himself, that he does what he learned. Yes, can also about that complete faith, that he doesn't even give up on one moment without the toe and the work. Will it always be like that? Even when a person has complete faith that he has to give an effort to make, to exert, how can a person reach a state that he doesn't even let one moment away from the effort? He yearns for it, he understands that he has to do it, but let's say he still hasn't come to it, so that's coming close to complete faith. Yes. Okay. Right, no, all right. Yes, turns out that we need to change a reward and punishment from my reward for reception and knowing to reward that I'm hoping for faith. What exercises can we do in the 10? You need to talk about this among yourselves and bring us ideas to speak between us and give each other advice how to increase the reward. Reward in faith above reception and knowing. Yes. Okay, can we say that all the correction is to develop on degrees of faith? Yeah. That every degree comes against a certain corruption. Yes, that's it, yes. D. He gradually closes on us with the whole article that faith is the key to everything. How to attain the faith? I don't know. Wait. Question that with Aoka now, if we're Learning introduction to test, we thought. Maybe to bring a bit of actual tests into the lessons. Please, do you think it's right for us to do it now? I don't think so, because B doesn't think so, but we can look at so. What do you think about in terms of connection with it? What part is suitable for us now? I'm not thinking about it. I told you I don't think I'm not thinking about it. Clear? Okay, all right. So N what's next? We can go to 6 to 15 or go to the next part. 15. Thus, it has been thoroughly clarified that one shall not expect that engagement in will bring him to accept when one knows in one's heart that he has been granted faith in the Creator and his toe. Appropriately, this is because then the light in it reforms him, and he will be rewarded with the day of the Lord, which is all light, for the holiness of faith purifies one's eyes to enjoy his light, until the light in the Torah reforms him. Yet those without faith are like that they cannot look at the light of day, because the daylight has been converted for them to a more terrible darkness than the darkness of the light, as they are only fed in the darkness of the night. Likewise the eyes of the faithless are blinded to the light of their Creator, hence the light becomes darkness for them, and the potion of life is turned into a potion of death for them. It is about them that the writing says, Woe unto you who desire the day of the Lord. Why do you need the day of the Lord? It is darkness, and not light. Thus first one must make one's faith complete. Is nice. Clear. First we have to what? First we have to obtain the light of faith, and in the light of faith the whole world, all the worlds, and everything that happens between them, and more and more and more will acquire a new depiction, new importance, and this way we will grow and find out what we must do. Yes, what is the instrument for obtaining the light of faith? Attaining the light of faith. According to what I understand, the instrument is as usual the upper light. That includes in it all the light of faith, and the light of reception, the light of bestow. All those lights, all in all, they will be clarified later on. He writes that there is a learning that will bring you blessing, and there's a learning that will not. Yes, on what does it depend? On coming to the learning with faith. Yes, from where's their faith before you come to their learning? I don't know. I do not know. I didn't read that yet. Ken, thank you. Good morning. Question: when a person begins to contain more than the 10, and they live within him, and they live, he lives in them, the ability to overcome is much more difficult. How can faith help in that state? I don't know. I do not know. Maybe someone can suggest something. I wasn't asking about that. Sorry. What? To help complete the friends' faith. How to help complete the faith of their friends. How to help complete the faith of their friends. You need to read the exact excerpts where it mentions it. Clearly, I can pray for them, I can give them confidence, but there's a difference between them, right? Yes, but there is also a close relation. What is the difference, or what is the connection? If I have a feeling of confidence, so I can go with intentions in order to bestow, and I'm not afraid that it will harm me, that's it. I need so I first need to be filled with faith of correction, or I need a deficiency to place it below the FRS, so they will receive through my deficiency. Yes, this or that. Yes, both at the same time, or one. No, one doesn't have anything to do with the other. We'll learn that. You have the right observation, Nico. Okay, so to read, there's no one there. Yeah, thank you. Faith and contentment to the Creator, is that the same? It's not the same. Thank you. Can. Yeah, and can I say something short to the friends? I feel friends with all my heart. That the drop of light is near. Really, this is all we need. We only need without this drop, then the next drop. I feel it with all my heart. I don't understand why, but sitting next to you in a circle with all the intention through the center of the tent, I feel that the next drop of light will correct the whole system. The Creator will shine for everyone. Lead us, it will lead us. So please the intention into it. That's how I feel to elevate to the Creator, to be. It's so great to be together. Thank you to the Creator for sitting before such a great love, the greatest teacher In the world with the greatest friends. In the world this now is our chance. How what? Joy, what an opportunity, thank you. Let's move to A. Son, the time is near, and we will see all people here in unity as one name, has one home in celebration and his son. We're not naive, it's not a dream, we suffer long enough to see there's no escape, nowhere to hide, and no belief to be out. God, this love us all forever in our hearts, there's love between us all. Forever in our hearts there's love between us all. Forever. Now. For. I know. Let's summarize the lesson, the main points we heard in the lesson, and what we're taking for the rest of the day for work in the tense. Let's summarize the main points in the lesson. In the I friends, we have to work on faith being. Friends, I have to go now, it's good being with you, thank you. The surrendered heart to the friend and faith in the Creator. I've said there are some more books we receive the light only on condition that we sanctify our vessels, and yet it brings us to this loop that the friend talked about faith and lack of faith. It's like this close circle where, as long as I don't have complete faith, it's as if I haven't attained anything, but maybe afterwards it'll get clearer, because on the other hand we know that there is no a little bit in spirituality, right? No absence, every penny joins into an amount, so there has to be some progress. On the other hand, there's a degree of faith that we have to attain, otherwise we're not making the leap that need to make in this incarnation. Okay, well, there were many regarding the next generation. I think it's not clear enough. This whole story, also the article, is not really about dissemination, so maybe there is lack of clarity. Here at 4 someone asked how to be more flexible, so G wrote it down precisely to accept each one of the friends as they are, and all changes a person has to demand from himself in order to resemble that connection between them. Yeah, that was powerful. I'm going to read from our friends. We must draw light, so this correction will take us from, and we'll have to be attentive to, the Creator at every generation in order to be ready to present the wisdom to the next generation. And Danny, there's only one force that corrects us, and it's the reforming light. We have to aim ourselves every moment to it. I'm going to read also from the words of like the sages that made our way easier. We also have the tidbits from A person has to know himself when he's upper one, and make calculation what is between him and the upper one, and then he'll discover the right deficiency. I just remembered that there was another thing I wanted to ask about the free time that he says that he compares it to complete faith, that if a person has complete faith, every free minute he has, he sanctifies it towards the goal, and if not, so I guess it's not complete faith, it stabs you. Our next question is we wanted to ask the friends the study material. Are we ready to study the study of the T2? Really open the book and study T like an hour and a half, or as long as we can, according to all's will, and if we do, what parts is recommended, what do friends recommend from their experience over the years? So again, are we as a 10 ready to learn from the book the studies of, and if we are, which part do we recommend? Afterwards we'll hear the friends. I don't know what I don't know how to answer that question, whether we're ready for studying test D. He asked it in the lesson, so said right. He said I didn't see that Bass. It's like Bassam wrote the introduction, then he wrote test, so maybe it's worth studying the introduction and then studying test. I think that some of the friends are really looking forward to it, and therefore I think that it can really help. There's another part that does not look forward to it, and they will have to make some overcoming. We know that likes it when we learn T, but it depends on the customer, so what the group in the end, what the group does, will join happily, because that's the essence of our being. We'll do it with the utmost effort as Sam. Right, he who yearns during the study, even though he doesn't understand anything, still trying to understand, he draws a reforming light to the 10. I also think that I'm not one who knows a lot about Tess, but on the other hand, I also didn't see that love really express the desire I think this should be scrutinized more essentially with of how he sees it, because now it was like on the way the end of the lesson, but it's really important to understand how he sees it, what his deficiency is, and from that deficiency to follow the group in the end. But we talked many times about a letter item 155, so maybe I'm also not one of the fans of a T, and I also didn't hear that said that this is the right thing to do, but that's my ears. I would suggest if we want to engage in drawing light without getting too intellectual, I'd suggest reading Thera for 15-20 minutes, but again that's my personal opinion. There's also the evening shows that show test, and obviously it's different in the morning lesson. It's part of what we're doing, and it's good to have the option according to the lesson times. Sometimes there's a flow whether to do it for not anyway, it's still privilege. I join the general view. Are we ready? I think it's something that needs to say if we're ready to learn this or not. How can I know? I can say if I want to or not, but I will not, because no one asked. If they decide to study test, we'll do it happily together. Maybe we'll do more meaningful preparation, whatever decides, however he sees things. Wrote a huge privilege to incorporate in the introduction to By we feel from all the friends that they're focusing on the main thing, our work here and now, scrutinizing the main part. Y writes that he thinks that the best part to read now is part 16, that is good for everyone, and it gives a very special impression. All things we're ready for test, we all know how to be in the lesson and draw the light, and it could be that the state the things that are hard to understand, it'll really be a time for prayer and drawing the light. And Daniel's writing that he joins ask if he sees that it's right we should study, and if not so no. I think I don't know. It's like what asked, does the lower one affect the deficiency of the upper one? Meaning if we raise a demand to study test, will it affect the obvious or no? And in general, if we're looking ahead, can we decide what the right thing to learn is for us? And that question is more interesting. I think every action we do together as a group will invest efforts in it, and it will bear fruit. It's not that the introduction forest is the more clearest and understood thing. Let's hope our friends also come to take part in this scrutiny conk. Let's hear in the assembly what friends think. Are we ready for studying tests? And what part do you recommend? Let's concentrate on that. Which part of test do friends recommend? If yes, of course, please, can yes. 29. Thank you, friends. I had some doubts, but still we want to. Parts 15. 16. Thank you, more. Yes, I was surprised that 100% of the 10 want to study, even those who said he didn't understand, but there was a complete agreement that it's worth it. If so, we think part 6. Florida, of course, it's necessary to study, do it's our work and our intention. I would start from the beginning, but if we're talking about a specific part, and maybe part 4, 6, and 16, and without it we can't understand. But we want to study. See, whatever you give us, we'll study. In the lesson said that there's no connection between test to the introduction to test, so the question itself is kind of weird. Why not to study? So why not to study rash letters? Why specifically test Genton? Please, we're in favour of part 6, and we'd be happy if with all this love from the bottom of the heart we'll clarify part 6. Again, I personally heard in the Congress that I've said that our state is like a drop of seed, that is absorbed in the womb, so that's a part of us. So maybe that's the best part, to know what our state is, what our degree is, what we're facing must go. Thank you very much for the question, and still we want to ask because there's test EG day at 5:30. So there are great text and great clips. We wouldn't want to come at the expense of the other. Good morning, friends. The Italian sees friends that are only beginners, and there's friends with experience, and there's friends in between. There's a desire to unite all the points in the heart, whether people more know more or less. There's a big desire who keep studying to understand in annulment and connection. Thank you CW. 14 thank you friends in this group that was a complete yes or favour for it, and we don't know the parts so the beginning thank you. Thank you and a report for events for the general public. Yeah, we want to give you an update about dissemination activities for the public in Israel. We want to tell you about them because it's important we know about them friends in the Israeli CLE so we can advertise it to friends. The weekly portion according to the wisdom of Kabbalah with Owen. It's going to be broadcast from here from our center. Here meaning people from the general public can come here and participate in the show, ask questions and be here. It will be from a broadcast only in the studio to a live show that the general public are invited. It's going to happen from October 30th Wednesday here at 7. That's the upcoming event. It's a bit far from now, but the next event Kabbalah on the bar in Russian in October 15 Tuesday, the PO bar in Tel Aviv. Eddie will give a lecture in Russian about perception of reality. And October 29th same place at 8 the Hebrew version but also about perception the reality. So those are the events that are coming up, and as usual like every Tuesday today this evening at 7 the spirits of the time, current events according to the wisdom of Fabweth. All the events I just told you about are on the website.